What you need is a team that knows each other, knows themselves, has joy, fun, and creativity regularly interjected into their day. So when it's time to show up, they're ready in their heads, not just their skill set. It's not the length of the experience they have, it's the quality. Teams are constantly changing, so you need to be aware as the leader of how, why, and when to use every single person you've got. Don't just assume all your players will play the whole game. Know when they need to come on and off, and when their insight is most valuable. Every single member of your team has the potential to be great in their own way. They'll learn to work with each other, not trying to fit in with each other, but to develop a dynamic unique to them that can be adjusted. To spend this episode, my 30th episode, on this day, watching what this team have just accomplished, was the best possible way I could have spent today. Hey, welcome to the Leaders Podcast with me, Laura McDonald, the leadership coach and mentor. Come with me as I explore the elements of leadership that give leaders like you the power and confidence to make the impact you know you can. I'll be sharing my own experiences, top tips and insights, and talking to some very special guests to share their thoughts and leadership experiences on mindset, influence, change, and growth. So let's get right to it. So I've been asked a lot lately what a high-performance team looks like and how to build one. And it's a really interesting question because every high-performance team looks and feels a little bit different. It's tailored to your organisation. And probably one of the biggest challenges that leaders have out there about the advice around building high-performance teams is that the examples are so generalised or specific to an industry that's not their own. And of course, we compare ourselves to other high-performance teams thinking, well, I don't have everything they have. I don't have the kind of team members they have. I don't have the budget that they have. But it's not about looking at what everybody else has. It's about looking at what you do have and finding and using the tools and support mechanisms you know build high-performing teams on your own. I will clear up one misconception about high-performing teams, and that is that they're pedal to the metal 24 hours a day. Yes, a lot of high-performing teams are efficient. They probably are efficient because they've had practice and experience in doing what they do. But the key word isn't efficiency, it's effectiveness, as Emma Berry Cowling pointed out in her episode earlier in the podcast. And that requires cohesion, collaboration, and autonomy, as well as a high level of skill, motivation, knowledge, and behaviours. Now, this is one of the rare occasions where I'm actually recording an episode the day before it comes out, but there's a good reason for that, because what I was waiting for was the prime example of what I believe is a high-performing team. And regardless of what happened on Sunday, they would still be a high-performing team. But I wanted to see what the result was before telling you what I think about the England Lionesses. They've just become the first England team of either gender to win a Euros and retain that title. They're also the first English team to win a major trophy on foreign soil. And frankly, God knows what records they broke about coming back from behind, with several games seeing our opponents score first only for the Lionesses to come back in spectacular fashion. And then there were the biggest heart attack moments with, of course, England winning several games via a penalty shootout. And as if that wasn't all enough, Sarina Wiegman has just become the first manager of either gender to reach 5 consecutive major tournament finals. Now already you might be listening to this and thinking that a sports team is nothing like your team. But the truth is, if you want your team to be high performance, look to sports teams like the Lionesses. What you need is a team that knows each other, knows themselves, has joy, fun, and creativity regularly interjected into their day. So when it's time to show up, they're ready in their heads, not just their skill set. Because it's not just about achieving the result you wanted. It's about making sure the overall experience every day is the best it can be for everyone involved. Now, I am a lifelong football fan. I'm by no means an expert, but what I can do today is share with you everything I saw during the Euros that made the Lionesses not just a high-performing team, but champions of life as well as their sport. The thing about sports teams is that the only way they actually work is every single player is utilised to their full extent. Every player must be completely skilled, trained, have the mindset, behaviours, knowledge, and skills of not just themselves but each other to succeed. And when you look at the Lionesses, there's a whole range of leadership skills spread across the team. For example, most of the players on the team are able to shift their role and the position they play according to what's happening in the game, such as Lucy Bronze, Georgia Stanway, and Ella Toone. The strength of the team is sitting in front of the goalkeeper, people like Leah Williamson, Alex Greenwood, and Jess Carter. They're the consistency, the focus. Then there's the new talent, not ignored, but embraced and utilised for their strengths, like Ajiman, Clinton, and Beaver Jones. And of course, there's the ones that just put themselves in the right place at the right time, like Alicia Russo. Of course, every goal she scores is a big moment, but the focus isn't the drama, it's the accuracy. A few years ago, I saw a TED talk by Gita Fredrickson, who talked about distributed leadership. Leadership as a network instead of a hierarchy, so every member can lead where they work best. She advocates for a shift from a hierarchical model of leadership where power and decision-making are concentrated at the top, to a model of distributed leadership where leadership roles are shared and responsibilities are delegated. This is exactly what happens in a sports team. As soon as any member of the Lionesses has the ball at their feet, they know they're in the leading position. They're going to use their perspective, knowledge, and skills to make the next move for the team and lead them into positions that hopefully give them an advantage. And part of the reason that's able to happen is because every single member of the team trains over and over again to build up their skills, their knowledge, and their behaviours, to the point that they eventually play the game on habit, intuition, and instincts. And while that training is focused on a wide range of skills, there will be specific focuses placed on what those particular players are good at individually, and building up their experience of things that are unexpected. Michael Phelps was famous for practicing all the things that could possibly go wrong in the pool. So when it came to those things happening in competition, he already knew what to do because he'd been there. Exposure to challenge, change, and unplanned events is really important when building the skills and knowledge of your team. It's not the length of the experience they have, it's the quality. So you can build a networked approach to leadership, tapping into the specific skills, diverse knowledge, and range of behaviours that your team members all hold whenever you need them. And that further supports crowdsourcing and co-creation, which allows teams to collectively solve problems and generate new ideas, sometimes in the moment, like what's happening on the pitch with the Lionesses, and sometimes just sitting down over time and thinking about stuff, writing down notes and considering our options. Even further to that, it fosters high levels of communication. When people know they can talk to each other, share ideas, and take the lead in their area of expertise, collaboration and innovation are elevated. So ways of working are constantly developed to get better and better and better. They become more effective, and over time, with that comes efficiency. So your role in this is to make sure that every single team member gets the attention they deserve. One thing that really grinds my gears is when I hear of managers treating apprentices or younger members of staff different from those who have been there for years. Every single member of your team deserves your attention, your time, your energy into building that skills and knowledge that they need to do their job well. Ajimang made her first tournament appearance for England during the Euros. She's 19 years old, one of the most inexperienced international players on the field, and yet look how crucial she's been for England winning this tournament. The management, coaching staff and support staff all knew that there was a lot of concern about key players retiring from the Lionesses this year, like Mary Earps. But they also knew that what supported these players to be great would absolutely work with others. New talent was brought in to elevate the team, to fill gaps with new perspectives and characters, and to move the whole dynamic forward so they could be successful once again. So whether the person standing in front of you is a 16-year-old apprentice or a 50-year-old who's been with you for 30 years, give them all just as much time and effort as each other, because they deserve it. Then build their confidence by passing them the ball and letting them lead. Every single member of your team has a key role to play. They'll have specific skills, knowledge and behaviours that they're bringing, but they'll also have certain things that they bring that no textbook or training session could ever teach. And that's why it's important that you understand all of your team members and how and when to use them. Some of them will play the whole game, but not everyone will. It's just a case of you knowing when to bring them on and why. I have to admit, Hannah Hampton wasn't a name that was familiar to me before this. And I can't imagine that following an act like Mary Earps is an easy thing to do, but I can see now why she was given the number 1 shirt. As a goalkeeper, you are absolutely the last line of defence for your team. And Hannah is highly skilled in her own right, which is ironic since she was told she'd never have a future in football due to an eye condition when she was a child. But she absolutely knows her role. Yes, she is the last line of defence, but she's also the perspective that no one else on the field has. She sees the gaps in the opposition as well as her own team. She has a little more time to process than everybody else on the field, so she can really consider the problems that everyone's facing and how they can solve them together. But when the ball comes her way, she takes the distraction away from the back of the field so the team at the front can focus on their own target. She builds confidence in other people that she's got this and they can focus on their job. Hannah is just one example of many players on the team that will play the whole game almost every time. But there are some team members you need to watch out for in particular, because they're the ones that bring real magic when you need it. It is my strong belief that every leader needs a Chloe Kelly in the ranks. For match after match now, this superstar has been brought on at the 11th hour, and time after time she's brought one thing straight to the pitch and the entire team: momentum. She's not there to fix it, score all the goals and do it for everyone. She's there to bring the motivation and strategy back to the game so the team can finish it themselves. She brings confidence and a new dynamic to the field when it's needed. During the tournament, I found myself consistently saying, "Don't worry, Chloe Kelly will fix it." But that doesn't always mean scoring. It means creating opportunities for the team to finish the job themselves. So if you're a leader, a key role you need waiting in the wings is a Chloe Kelly. And if you are the Chloe Kelly of your team, remember you're not there because you're supposed to do it all for them. You're there because you can see the way through for everyone else to finish the job. Except for the odd chance to score the winning goal at a Euros final and just get the job done, of course. And then there's players like Georgia Stanway, who don't always finish the game but will always start it. What I notice most about Georgia is her support to other people. Maybe it's the position she plays, but she's constantly looking at what's going on around her and providing feedback to everyone else. She seems to be one of the key people in getting everyone into the right headspace and settling into the game when they're playing. But she's also consistent in her own performance, making her reliable to everyone else. And as an experienced player, she's clearly got a lot of influence with the rest of the team. Georgia tends to come off the field when the dynamic needs to change, and sometimes she sees the game through to the end, but ultimately it's about knowing if and when to take her off. And the crucial tipping point seems to be when the team needs to elevate from consistency to momentum. So right now you might be sitting here thinking, good God, Laura, how close did you actually watch this tournament? Well, the answer is, truthfully, very close. Not because I was trying to analyse anyone, but simply because I was completely enthralled with the experience. To know that England could walk away with the second Euros title was probably a once-in-a-lifetime experience, so I wasn't going to miss a second of it. But I have learned a lot over the years from different industries and different types of teams and different sports about how leadership could be done. And the central learning that's been repeated to me over and over and over again is that teams are constantly changing. So you need to be aware as the leader of how, why, and when to use every single person you've got. And by doing that, the greatest pillar that builds is knowing that even when your big guns leave, new dynamics come into the team, and it's just a case of figuring out what the strategy is. So layered very clearly on top of that needs to be open communication and clear goal setting. In the case of the Lionesses, the goal is simple: win the tournament. But communication of how they'll achieve that is a much bigger and ongoing conversation, even during the match itself. During the second half of our opening game against France, Serena Wiegmann sat down and started making notes, analysing what was happening and considering all the problems the team were facing. At that point, I knew the match was lost, but that was okay, because their leader was already building the discussion they needed to have to make it work next time. And this constantly happened throughout the tournament. As soon as you saw that bit of paper, whether it was on Serena's clipboard or handed to a teammate as a sub came on, the dynamics of the game completely changed. Momentum was brought in, every member of the team stepped up to lead from their point of expertise, and the results came in. Yes, you have to put the work into skills, knowledge, and behaviours, but if you want a high-performing team, you need that constant analysis, communication, and feedback about what's happening. Diversity in teams really works, but you have to put the effort in to make the dynamics work together. Don't just assume all your players will play the whole game. Know when they need to come on and off, and when their insight is most valuable. Now, of course, I had to mention the one person at the centre of all of this, and that's Serena Wiegmann. As I said at the beginning, she's the first manager of either gender to reach 5 consecutive major tournament finals, and she's done absolute wonders for the Lionesses. She's in constant analysis mode. Like I said, when you see that bit of paper come out, you know everything's about to change because she's been thinking about it. After one game, she was sitting in a press conference completely distracted by the fact that Wales were playing because they were our next match and she was trying to build a strategy. And of course, she has 1,000,001 other behaviours and skills and knowledge that support her team as a natural part of her job. But the key point about Serena is that she facilitates not just the team's needs, but what makes them happy, and understands that that goes way beyond football. She can't provide everything, but the one thing she consistently makes sure they have is time. Time to do all the things that bring that creative thinking out in every player and help them enjoy the experience. Lauren Hemp is a big Lego builder, so she spent a lot of time in the hotel building Lego sets and proudly carried one out as they checked out of the hotel. Michelle Adjeman is a key piano player, so she had a piano put in her room so that she could play whenever she wanted. Team members were given journals to write their thoughts down. People were making notes of daily inspirational quotes. But there was also time to do things together as a team. There was a great video that came out, I think it was last week, of the Lionesses practicing basketball trick shots, a lot of which they succeeded first time, which was brilliant. But also just the encouragement to do simple things like sharing stories of how they got here. How did they get on the England team? What was their journey to the Euros? For anybody that stays in a hotel regularly as part of their job or otherwise, you'll understand that it's challenging. It's a new environment, it's out of your usual routine, the food isn't the same as what you'd cook at home, so it's important to bring an experience that your team will enjoy and remember. And no, your team might not necessarily be staying in a hotel as part of their jobs, but they are away from their homes, their families, and their hobbies every minute that they spend in your office or out on a job for you. So it's finding ways to bring in joy and happiness that let them see each other, understand each other, and form bonds rather than just professional connections. It's about listening and giving them something you know will mean something to them. That small box of Lego to build when they need time to think, or that access to music, or the time to go and see an event in town over lunch might just be the key to each person truly believing you want them to do this the way that suits them best. And eventually they'll develop their own ways of doing things. You won't necessarily always understand it, but as long as it works, that's all that matters. Like Chloe Kelly's iconic routine for penalties. A few months ago, I attended a webinar with guest speaker Henry Stewart, who was the founder and chief happiness officer at happy.co.uk. And as you can imagine, he was talking about all things happy. And he said a company aim of theirs was to have all employees happy at least 80% of the time. They've created metrics, measurements, etc. to make sure that this is a target they're meeting consistently. And perhaps it's a different word that they use in the Lionesses. It could be well-being, it could be joy, it could be happiness. But whatever it is, they've got a clear system in place to make sure that everybody is taken care of. Not by doing things for them or through formal organised events, but by simply giving them the time and resources to express themselves, get to know each other, and become a team. Now, some of you may be hearing this and think, well, we don't have the budget for that. You know what? You probably don't. But you do have the ability to bring fun and joy into the lives of your employees, not through those organised activities, but through facilitation of what matters to them, what makes them happy, and through opportunities to be creative. But what really stands out to me about Serena Wiegmann is what you can see in her eyes. She's often been asked what her secret is to having such a high performance and successful team, and often she answers, I don't know. But my humble opinion is, her secret to success is her care for the whole person, not just the player. I don't often tell stories about my son, but here's an interesting one for you. A few months ago, my son and a few other children at nursery were really struggling with the volume of noise and activity that was happening in the room. Because it is overwhelming when you're there for so many hours in a day and you're only little, and yes, you've got a lot of energy to burn, but you're also at the age where you think everything still revolves around you and it's quite hard. Kids get overwhelmed, that's what happens. But what most struck me was our nursery's response to that. Our son's key worker very quickly told me, and very proudly, that she was in the middle of creating a quiet space for kids to go when they felt overwhelmed. It didn't take a lot of time or money, but it was enough to make sure that the kids could learn how to step away when they needed to calm down, to have some peace, to just read a book. And since then, I've noticed a significant difference in the experience that he's having there at nursery. It was already a positive one, but this thing just made it so much better for him. So while we all would like the experience of staying in one of the best hotels in Switzerland on top of a mountain with a basketball court and endless amounts of Lego available to us all, the fact is we don't have the budget for that. But there are still plenty of other things that you can do for your team. Just get a little creative and let them be creative too. Care about the whole person and not just the job role. I always used to say my goal with any site was to become completely and utterly useless. If I can get to the point that a team can run very capably without me, then I know I've succeeded. And at that point, it was time for me to step away and move on to another team. Now, Serena's goal is probably slightly different to that. She doesn't need to be useless, but what she does need is for the team to have independence from her. The confidence to make their own decisions, the strategy 100% clear in their head, and the autonomy to play the game their way. And behind all of that is Serena's genuine belief that with the right strategy and facilitation to be their absolute best, her team can do absolutely anything. Complete 100% belief in her team. And they've proved that time and time again. I recently had someone talk to me about a team member, and the description kind of suggested that perhaps that team member shies away from work a little bit if somebody else gets given something instead of them. They're quite pleased about that. Well, my question is why? Experience has taught me that no matter how work-shy somebody may appear to be, or how cocky they might be about that, there's always a feeling underlying that they want to be better, and usually a whole bunch of reasons why they feel they can't be. And even when someone is performing well, there may still be shakes in confidence, self-doubt, or a lack of personal needs being met. Every single member of your team has the potential to be great in their own way. So it's about understanding what that looks like for them and facilitating them to be able to achieve that in their own way. But none of that will happen if for any reason they don't believe that you believe in them. The more support you give somebody to build their skills, knowledge and behaviours, the more confidence you build in them and autonomy you give them to make their own decisions about how they're going to do this. And the more effective your communication becomes about the goal you're all working towards, will all contribute towards, and the dynamics and plan and strategy that will get you there, the more effective your whole team eventually becomes. They'll learn to work with each other, not trying to fit in with each other, but to develop a dynamic unique to them that can be adjusted when new characters, personalities and skills come into the team or leave. And yes, you may still make the ultimate decisions on a lot of things, but your team still need to be able to work independently of you. The Lionesses did have a manager standing on the sidelines shouting the odd bit of supportive guidance, but ultimately they walked out there on their own, knowing they could do this. Their leaders gave them all the support they needed to do it, then made them believe it 100%. I genuinely can't believe that we've reached the 30th episode of this podcast. I've had some amazing guests and conversations, and I've got to share so much with you all. It's taken a huge amount of work to get here. But to spend this episode, my 30th episode, on this day, watching what this team have just accomplished, was the best possible way I could have spent today. Congratulations to every member of the Lionesses team. The players, the coaches, the managers and all the background support staff. What you've achieved is absolutely beyond belief. Enjoy every single moment of this success. You've made history, and we're so proud of you. Until next time, everyone.